Hello there and welcome to another edition of Ask David. We're getting so many questions in at the moment. Everybody's clearly getting on in their gardens, so I won't hang around. I'll get on and answer some of those nagging questions. So the first question this week comes from Richard, and he's asking about a clematis montana which has grown about 40 feet in extent and is really getting too big for its boots, and he wants to know whether he can prune it back hard at this time of year as soon as it's finished flowering. Well, Richard, in the spring is the right time to prune montanas. As soon as they finish flowering, you can wade in with loppers or a pair of secateurs, or even if you need to with a pruning saw, and cut that clematis really hard back close to where it's growing in the ground, and you'll find that over the coming summer it will grow back strongly. Next year it's unlikely to flower particularly well. It might have the odd flower, but it will take a few years to train it back into some sort of shape, and then you'll get some regular flowers each year. But that's how I would control your unruly clematis montana. Now Angie wants to know when she can put her tomatoes and her cucumbers out in her greenhouse. She says that she's grown them on a windowsill. The plants are looking really good, but she's just worried about putting them in the greenhouse. Well, by this time of year, by about the beginning of May, the greenhouse temperatures should be good enough during the day and also overnight for those plants to really relish those growing conditions. So I would have no hesitation about planting them out in an unheated greenhouse about the end of April through till the beginning of May. No problem at all, Angie, get them in. Now Christine's got in touch through gardenersworld.com to ask David about some dahlias. Now she says she's got some dahlias that she's made from last year's plants, and by this I sort of infer that what she's done is she's taken the roots of the dahlias, the tubers if you like, and she's broken them up into different sections and then planted them up individually, and she's hoping that they're going to turn into new plants. Well, I think where you might have gone wrong, Christine, is that dahlia tubers don't actually respond to being divided into the little constituent parts. The whole tuber, which is all connected together with a stem at the top, that whole thing needs to be planted back into the soil in order for the plant to survive. And those individual tubers that are connected to the larger structure, if you detach those, they don't have a growing point and are unlikely to grow away again. So the best way to propagate old dahlias that you've kept from year to year is to plant up the dahlia tubers into pots of compost or even out in the ground. Wait until they start into growth, and when they've grown to about 20 centimetres tall, then you can take some nice softwood cuttings and propagate your dahlias that way. Next, Sarah wants to know about her magnolia. She says she planted it out in a large pot full of the proper compost, as she refers to it, ericaceous compost, and she's growing it in that pot, and she's wondering why it isn't flowering. I think she says it's about 3 years old, still no sign of any flowers. Well, the key thing here, Sarah, is that it's probably best to pot up a magnolia like this gradually into a progressively larger and larger pot, so that the roots actually fill the pot before you move on to the next size pot. And I think what's happening here is that you've given this plant an enormous great pot that it's growing in with plenty of good compost, and it's getting its roots into there and it's having a whale of a time, and it doesn't see the need to flower. And as soon as you allow a plant to become a little bit pot bound, a little bit restricted when you're growing in containers, then you'll find that that plant will think that it is struggling, and therefore it's more likely to start it off into flower. So I think at the moment your magnolia is having a whale of a time. In a few years' time, once it's filled that large container with its roots, it might then start thinking about flowering. So Sarah, I would just hold fire at the moment. Just enjoy the plant for the next few years and look forward to those flowers, which will eventually come. Now the last question this week comes from Nicky, and she says, is it possible to prune camellias, and if so, when? Well Nicky, do you know what, this question couldn't be more timely, because now is a really good time to prune camellias. They're evergreen plants, and in common with many evergreens, it's best to wait until around about the end of April, beginning of May, before going in with some secateurs and cutting back the more vigorous sections of the plant. You could also take out some of the older flowered shoots really low down on the plant. So if you trace down through the plant, you'll find some of the thickest, oldest branches, and those could be sawn, or using loppers, cut those stems out so that it encourages new shoots to be formed from the base to keep the plant compact. But ordinarily what I would do is go in and I would reduce all of last year's vigorous growth by about 2/3 to keep the plant more compact and to encourage some new shoots for the rest of this year that should go on to produce some flowers next year. So it's a busy time for gardeners, and there are plenty of questions flooding in. Don't forget to send me your questions through gardenersworld.com and I'll see if I can answer it for you. In the meantime, have a good gardening week.